So for your graphing recap assignment here, I am going to show you how to do this. I'm going to change things a little bit just so that way you'll have the 6 graphs to practice on your own. But I'm going to change them so that they're very similar to these ones here. So for instance, I'm going to change this first equation. We're going to instead graph y equals 1/4 x minus 3. So I'm not going to graph that one. That's the one that you'll have to do on your own when you go to do the assignment. Now, all your graphs should have scales, so I should make sure that I put my scales on here. So like 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. Okay, so my scales are on there. Then when I go to plot these points, the first thing I'm going to look at is that is in the form of y equals mx plus b. So your b value is -3, which means 0, -3 is the first point you're going to plot. So 0, -3, that location's right there. Your slope, so that's your y-intercept. Your slope is found in front of x, so your slope there is 1/4. Your slope tells you the directions. That's going to move rise over run. So your rise is 1, your run is 4. So you're going to move up 1, right 4. So up 1, right 4. I'm going to run out of space if I keep going that way, so I'm going to go in the opposite direction. You're going to go until you cannot put any more points on the graph. And then what you're going to do is connect them with a line. So there is my line I connected them with. And I add arrows because I know it extends on forever in both directions. And that would be my graph when I need to graph it in the form of y equals mx plus b. Now you also have 2 on here that are in the form of standard form, meaning they're in the form of ax plus by equals c. Now, this is a very common form that you'll see during this unit, so that's why I wanted to take some time to go over how you would graph it. I'm not going to graph these 2 that I'm giving you to do on your own, but I'll graph one similar to it. So let's say I have -3x minus 4y equals 12. There's 2 ways that you can go about doing this problem. You could move things around, so you could get y alone, so I would add 3x on both sides. Next, I'll have to divide everything by -4. And what I'll get is y equals -3/4 x minus 3. So I just explained to you how we would go about graphing that. This one has a y-intercept at 0, -3. And the slope is moving down 3, right 4. So I would be able to go through and plot that. The other way you could go about graphing this, and then I'm going to graph both of them both ways and show you that you'll get the exact same graph. You could find your x and y-intercepts. You know that a y-intercept looks like this, and an x-intercept looks like this. So what we would do is we would plug in 0 for x. If we plug in 0 for x, this term goes away. So -4 times what y value would get you 12? -4 times a y value of -3. -4 times -3 gets you +12. So we would know that this is -3. Then we're going to do the same thing as if we plug in 0 for y this time. So when you plug in 0 here, this term goes away. So we'll have -3 times what number gets you 12? -3 times -4 would get us 12. Now, a lot of people try to put these coefficients and say, oh, my x is at 3 and my y. No, those numbers don't mean anything other than that's how you're going to solve to get what the x value is. -3 times what x value. It just so happens that 3 times 4 is 12, and that's why those showed up the same. So I can show you a different one. For example, if we did your x and y intercepts for this one here, you'll notice that they won't be the same. If we plug in 0 for x, so this term goes away, 2 times what value gets you -12? It's going to be -6. Okay, notice -6 does not show up in that equation. If we plug in 0 for y, this term goes away. Negative of what number is -12? 12. So we had 12 and 6, which were not in our original equation. So just because the 3 and the 4 show up does not mean that that's why those were our x and y intercepts. All right, so let's actually go about graphing this equation over here that we wrote. So the first point, again, we'll just keep these scales 1. So there's my scales. I'm going to go about plotting 0, -3 first. I'm going to plot it using this method first. So 0, -3 is my first point that I would plot. And then I'm going down 3, right 4. So down 3, right 4. I can't go anymore, so I'm going to go the opposite direction. Up 3, left 4, and I'm out of space. Then what I can do is I want to show you if I would have gone this route, I would have plotted 0, -3, and I would have plotted -4, 0. And then what I would do is I would see, oh, to get from this point to this point, I'm going down 3, right 4, so I'm just going to continue that pattern and go down 3, right 4 to find more points until I run out of space. So it doesn't matter if you went the route of finding intercepts or converting it. Either way, you're going to be able to get to that line that we're about to draw in. So there's our line. Make sure we put arrows going both directions because that line does continue forever in both directions. And that graph is done. So now that you have a recap on how to graph in the form of y equals mx plus b, or in the form of ax plus by equals c, which is standard form, you should be able to complete these 6 graphs.